So watching the news now is like living in a left-wing fantasy world. It is just like an entire made-up place. You know, last week they were going on and on about this is Trump's worst week ever. This is such a terrible week. Molly Hemingway, whom we love at the Federalist, she edits the Federalist, but she wrote a piece quoting the Washington Post. The Washington Post headline was, "Republicans, it's time to panic." Yes, columnist Michael Gerson wrote that Senator Bob Corker, this is the big thing, if you haven't been paying attention to this, Bob Corker, the Republican Tennessee, big-time senator, lots of big committees and all this, he's been attacking Trump, and the press, of course, is falling all over him. The press loves you when you attack Trump, and they get what they call a strange new respect. They hate Republicans until Republicans are attacking each other. Then they say, this is a man universally respected, suddenly. And Corker was making all these comments like it's the place is out of control, and he's going to start World War III and all this stuff. Morning Joe, so help me, spent 2 solid days talking about the 25th Amendment. The 25th Amendment, I'm serious, it's like a fantasy world. It's like living in their fantasies. The 25th Amendment provides that I think the vice president has to initiate it, but you can get rid of a president who can't do his job. If he's sick, if he's in a coma, if he's Donald Trump, like I think those are the things they list. Sick, in a coma. That's right. In the fantasy version of this, they actually mention Donald Trump. But then your cabinet has to go to the Congress, and the Congress has to vote on it. It ain't going to happen. And by the way, it's basically useless, because if your cabinet starts to actually say this about you, you can fire them. The president can, they serve at the president's pleasure. So you fire him and get somebody who won't say it about you. But Joe Scarborough, 2 days, just take an individual. This is just a quick snip of Joe Scarborough selling the 25th Amendment, which he did 2 days in a row. Have you got this? Yeah.
There's something called the 25th Amendment that they're going to have to start looking at. This is not acceptable as the status quo. When you have the most powerful Republican on Capitol Hill saying the President of the United States could be leading us toward nuclear war, and Republican senators remain silent.
Let's pray for some courage, because they certainly have been warned very clearly.
We're praying for courage that they're going to upend the election. I mean, can you imagine, not one person has talked about the 60 million people with pitchforks and torches who would be out on the mall the next day. I mean, it's just this fantasy world. So the other fantasy, and Molly talks about this too with the Federalists, the other fantasy is that everything is in chaos. Obviously, Trump is a chaotic guy. Trump is a guy who generates chaos. He yells at people. He's obviously he's a big personality. He's been living on reality TV, so everything he touches becomes reality TV. So the press has been relentlessly running these stories. Remember when everything was Russia? Neither do I. I mean, I've totally forgot. Yeah, Russia's completely off the map. But remember, every day it was Russia, and Russia said this, and a guy who knew Russia, somebody who saw From Russia with Love is now an anonymous source and everything, whatever they could find. Somebody who read a John le Carré novel once was hanging out with Donald Trump, and it was just all this garbage, which is now gone. I mean, they keep hoping it'll come back. They keep praying that this is going to get him impeached, something like this. But it's a complete nonsense story. So now the nonsense story is about the chaos. Everybody's getting fired. And the big one was Tillerson. Did Tillerson call Trump a moron? And here's my opinion. Of course he called him a moron. Tillerson is a big guy. Trump is a big guy. They probably call each other names all the time. That pansy, that moron, I hate that guy. There are probably a lot worse names than moron. So Tillerson is too cool to lie. But he doesn't want to answer the question. Jake Tapper has him on. Here he is on CNN, Secretary of State, and Tapper asks him the question, and Tillerson gives this long, long answer. He says, I'm not going to do this. I'm just not going to answer the question. And it goes on, and then talks about the administration and what they're doing and all this stuff. And then Tapper comes back to it. And this is how he uses his time. So this is cut number 3.
When you don't answer the question, it makes people think that you probably did say it. But either way, whatever happened, it is serious. So can you please clear it up?
As I said, Jake, I'm not playing. These are the games of Washington. These are the destructive games of this town. They're not helpful to anyone. And so my position on it is, I'm not playing. I'm not playing. You want to make a game out of it? I'm not playing.
I'm not making a game out of it. I mean, I'm just trying to see clarity, because saying that If I said that my boss was a moron, that would be a serious issue. It wouldn't be, and my boss doesn't control nukes. I'm willing to move on, but I just want to be clear. You still haven't denied that you called him a moron. And, you know, a lot of people are going to watch this and think he probably said it.
I'm not dignifying the question with an answer, Jake. And I'm a little surprised you want to spend so much time on it when there's so many important issues around the world.
Now, I have to tell you, I was a reporter. I was a reporter both in the newspaper and in radio. And reporters do this all the time. They try and convince the guy that it is in his best interest. Reporters are a little like cops this way. You try to convince the guy that it's in his best interest to answer your stupid question, which you obviously are going to blow up underneath him. Like, it's trying to get him to hoist himself on his own petard. Does anybody know what that means? A petard, yeah, petard was an explosive device. And if you blew yourself up with it, you hoisted yourself on your own petard. That's just a little side note I thought you might be interested in. But the thing is, reporters do this all the time. It would really be in your best interest if you would tell me this fact that you don't want anybody to know that I will then use to excoriate you in the press, okay? Because if Tillerson actually said, yeah, I called him a moron, what do I care if he's the press? That we'd never, ever, ever hear the end of it. It's the same as when cops say to people, get it off your chest, you'll feel better. And then they put you in jail for 25 years to life, and that doesn't feel as much better as you kind of thought it would. You thought it was going to feel better, but 25 years to life is too long. So anyway, this is the thing that the press is absolutely focused on. Never mind substance, never mind what's going on legally in terms of new legislation, in terms of new regulation. None of that. It's all this stuff. So John Kelly, the chief of staff and a general, comes out and surprises the press at a press conference, at the usual press conference. He comes out and talks to them, and he tries to be a little charming. He says, I'm not getting fired. Nothing has happened. This is his one complaint. Listen to this.
My only frustration, with all due respect to everyone in the room, is when I come to work in the morning and read about things I allegedly said or things that Mr. Trump allegedly said or people who were going to be fired or whatever, and it's just not true. That's my frustration. I mean no disrespect to you all.
I mean no disrespect to you all, but everything you say is a lie. It's like, so